I am Sandra Ezekwesili. You've just heard the 5 p.m. news update, so you know it's time for the big hard fact. And that means that from now until 6, we're diving deep into one big issue in Nigeria today. And today, we're looking at ongoing dispute between the federal government and ASUU over the instruction to register all university staff onto the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System IPPIS. Now, here's today's big hard fact. According to the Accountant General of the Federation, in the last 3 years, IPPIS has saved the federal government over 230 billion naira, which would have otherwise gone to salaries and pensions for ghost workers. According to the Accountant General of the Federation, in the last 3 years, IPPIS has saved the federal government over 230 billion naira, which would have otherwise gone to salaries and pensions for ghost workers. Now, as you know, a ghost worker is a false entry in a company payroll register for a worker that does not exist. The ghost worker receives salary and allowances, which whoever placed the name there siphons away. So, over a decade ago, the federal government set up IPPIS. The goal was to make it impossible for ghost workers to be on the payroll undetected. Ministries and agencies have been added one by one. And then a few weeks ago, President Buhari presented the 2020 budget. And at the presentation, he announced that staff of any federal institution that were not registered on IPPIS by the end of last month would no longer receive salaries. Federal universities are not yet on IPPIS, and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has said it will not happen. So now ASUU is locked in a standoff with the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, and that's where we're at right now. And that's what we're discussing today. We're looking at ASUU's objections to IPPIS and the legal grounding of both sides' positions. And we're also going to look at the nature of IPPIS, and we'll try to get to the root of the conflict between the university and university autonomy and government oversight over public funds. Joining me is ASUU Unilag Chairman, Dr. Dele Ashiru, and lawyer and governance expert, Dr. Joe Abba. Gentlemen, welcome to Hard Facts.
Hi, Sandra. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this invitation. Good evening.
Now, of course, you, my listener, are my most important guest. And throughout the show, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with ASUU or with the federal government? Now, what are the reasons, Dr. Ashiru, that ASUU is against migrating to the IPPIS platform?
Yeah, thank you very much. The simple reason why ASUU is against migration to IPPIS platform is because universities are universal cities, and they are not ministries, departments, or agencies of government. Universities are centers where knowledge are produced and disseminated. And all over the continent of Africa, where IPPIS, which is not an original policy of the government, IPPIS is part of the IMF World Bank conditionality to continue to engage and enjoy loans from those institutions. In other countries or in the continent where it has been implemented, for example, in Ghana, universities are exempted because of their peculiar nature. Now, as I speak with you, universities are directly paid from the Accountant General Office through a platform that enables both the university and the government to monitor recruitment, promotion, salaries, wages, emoluments in all the respective universities. And there has not been any problem with that in the last 5-6 years that the Accountant General has been operating that platform. So our union is surprised by this forceful, sudden enrollment of the university on the platform. And now, permit me to also add that it is shocking that ASUU's objection is raising a lot of controversy. There are other agencies of government who work directly with government. For example, NNPC workers, FIRSC, Central Bank, Printing and Minting, all of these organizations are not enrolled on the IPPIS. Is the argument that there are no ghost workers there? Is the National Assembly being paid on the IPPIS platform? Are political appointees of the president and all other retinue of, appointees that they have been paid on the IPPIS platform? So please, we have made this point over and over again. ASUU is not against any policy that will enable government fight corruption, check ghost workers, etc. But we are saying that those who are championing the policy must understand that universities are not ministries, not departments or agencies of government.
All right, I'm going to follow up on what you've just said, Dr. Ashiru, but I want to hear what Dr. Joab has to say about the objections that you've just raised. Dr. Joab, by the way, is a former Director General of the Bureau of Public Service Reforms. Dr. Abba.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Let me start by saying that the IPPIS was developed by the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, which I led until 2 years ago. So it was actually developed between 2005 and 2007. It is certainly not true that it was developed as in response to any conditionality by the IMF or World Bank or anything like that. That is completely untrue. This was part of a program of reforms under the Obasanjo government, which included the sale of government houses, the monetization of fringe benefits, the tenure policy that was put in place, the reform of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, the pension reform. There were a whole raft of reforms, of which pay reform was one of that. And apart from IPPIS, there was also, of course, the Edozian report into pay. So it was a whole raft of reforms. So it's certainly not true that the IPPIS was developed as part of any conditionality. It's also the case that in every country where IPPIS has been developed, it's been tailored to the local environment. And in fact, the first company to develop IPPIS for government was System Specs, which is a local organization that is based here in Lagos. Before IPPIS now developed based on the Oracle platform. So everything has always been customized, it's always been homegrown. It is true that universities are not traditional ministries, departments, or agencies. I don't think anybody is in any doubt about that. However, universities do spend public money, and most Nigerian universities survive almost entirely on public funds. And so examples with other countries are actually unhelpful, because if you are a Harvard University that survives mainly on research grants and charitable grants and gets very, very little from the U.S. federal government, you cannot compare it to a Nigerian university system where without the federal government, the federal universities will basically not function. They raise virtually no money from research. They raise virtually no money from any other activity. Everything comes from the federal government. So it's entirely sensible for the federal government to ensure that there is no wastage in the way that monies are managed. The system that Dr. Ashiru referred to is called the Government Integrated Financial Management and Information System, the GIFMIS. And the way the GIFMIS works It's used mainly for payment of overhead expenditure, mainly, or for block grants. And so what the universities currently get is an amount released based on what's available in the budget. And that amount is released in block. Now, when that amount is released, the office of the university or the institution or the teaching hospital, as I've seen, may simply say there are 20 people on the payroll. Those 20 people that are said to be on the payroll, there's no biometric evidence for them. There's no evidence that they are not on the payroll of another university. And so you go to a teaching hospital and say, do you have enough doctors? The chief medical officer will tell you, oh, we have more than enough doctors because the number of doctors are listed on the payroll. You go to the ward itself, the doctors are nowhere to be found. And so what the IPPIS does is to actually trace the salary to the person. And that's been the difference over the years, because with the introduction of the bank verification numbers, you can actually trace who is collecting the salary to the bank and to the fingerprint of the person. That's what I think the universities do not want, because in many cases, many lecturers are on different payrolls of different universities. That is what IPPIS would make difficult, if not impossible. And so what the federal government is saying is be on the payroll in one university. If you go and work anywhere else, that is an allowance which you can still be paid. Configuring the system can be done by a 100-level computer science student. And Dr. Ashiru knows that. It's an Oracle database. You put in drop-down functions and you just select. Is this person going to retire at 70 or 60? The system will adjust. Does this person work in a university? You put in the parameters. Any 100-level IT student can configure the Oracle database on which IPPIS works to be able to do that. So the issue really is it's not the system. The issue is whether the practices that the universities are running are fair and proper. And so if we all agree that a university lecturer can teach in 3 or 4 different universities, there's no problem about that. But have your salary domiciled in your university in one place. And then if you go on sabbatical, if you go and teach elsewhere, you simply, claim that as an allowance. And that goes on top of your salary. But what we cannot have is a situation where somebody is claiming 4 or 5 salaries across 4 or 5 universities. That is unfair on you and I taxpayers as Nigerians.
All right. Now, before Dr. Ashiru responds to the points you've raised, Dr. Abba, I want to talk about autonomy, Dr. Ashiru. The law that created the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation gives the office wide powers over supervising payments and disbursements from the Treasury and to set up rules for the technical conditions of disbursement. So if some law gives universities autonomy over their operation, but other laws give the Accountant General supervisory power over the money that pays university salaries, how do we decide which law takes precedence?
Okay, thank you very much. Before I answer that question, I'd like to respond to some of the things that Dr. Abba said.
Okay.
I am surprised that Dr. Abba can say that it is not true that reforms, indeed all the reforms under President Olusegun Obasanjo, were dictated by the Bretton Woods institution. And the facts are there, so we can't. If IPPIS is an offshoot of those reforms, it's only helping me, to reinforce the point that I have made, and there's no controversy about that.
Yeah, but Dr. Ashiru, before you move on to your second point, IPPIS has discovered tens of thousands of ghost workers in the civil service.
That is the claim of government. Where is the evidence?
Okay, move on to your second point.
The money that is said to have been recovered from ghost workers, where is it?
Okay, move on to your second
Where
point.
is the audited account? What is it being used for? You cannot be sloganeering and making wild claims without concrete evidence to back up whatever claims that we are making.
All right.
Secondly, it is not true that universities don't get money from research. Unfortunately, the bulk of money that comes into research in Nigerian universities come from abroad. As I speak with you, the University of Lagos only recently has attracted more than 5 billion naira research grants to the university, all from outside Nigeria. It is shameful that the Nigerian government cannot fund research like they do in developed countries. And it also shows the kind of approach which government is taking to educate its citizens. It must also be underscored that it is the responsibility of any state to educate its citizens, because the state cannot afford the ignorance of its citizens. Consequently, no society can rise above the level of its educational development. Now, let me now come to say that there are laws gave Accountant General its own powers. There are also Nigerian laws which gave obstacle clauses, to the Accountant General in the kind of things that he wants to start doing. And Accountant General, there's no law in Nigeria that makes the Accountant General the Vice Chancellor General of all Nigerian universities. The Universities Miscellaneous Provisions Act clearly stipulates that directives, circulars, and all that are against the laws of respective universities will, to the extent of that inconsistency, be null and void. So what we are saying is that we are not opposed to the Accountant General or the government superintending over funds that are released to the university. They have been doing that. What we are saying is that the Accountant General cannot usurp the powers freely given to respective councils of federal universities in Nigeria to manage funds, manage recruitment, manage promotion, etc. Another point that I'd like to respond to is that it is not correct that lecturers work on full-time basis in more than one universities in Nigeria. I hope that those who are saying this understand the fact that it is a criminal offense to hold two full-time appointments in any federal government establishment in Nigeria. However, we cannot deny the fact that, one, because of shortages of manpower, because of expertise and specialized areas, there are lecturers who have to work on part-time adjunct basis in other universities. We are saying that the IPPIS claim that they can actually take on these peculiarities and include it in the IPPIS program. But for goodness sake, the last display of the way the IPPIS program was configured at a stakeholders meeting didn't respond and answer all of these questions. And that's why our union is saying that if the bone of contention is the operation of IPPIS, our union is willing to develop pro bono another program that will seek to achieve government's objective better than what IPPIS is doing.
Okay.
And I think that a society that desires development will not remain recalcitrant on a particular position when alternatives are being canvassed. I think what is appropriate is for the Accountant General Office to await the alternative that we are developing and compare with IPPIS, and together we will agree on which one better serves the interests of the university system.
All right.
So what we have discovered is that there's a lot of misunderstanding on the part of the public and of those who argue in favor of government about the position of our union. And let me reiterate that we are not opposed to any action or a combination of actions that will rid Nigeria of ghost workers and save taxpayers' money from going down the drain.
Okay. Dr. Abba, I have to ask you the same question I asked Dr. Ashiru as well. If some laws give universities autonomy over their operation, but other laws give the Accountant General supervisory power over the money that pays university salaries, how do we decide which law takes precedence?
Why don't we put it this way, Sandra? I'm in complete support of total autonomy for the universities.
Okay.
Total. But you cannot rely 99.99% on your funding and dictate to the person who is funding you how they should fund you or how they should pay you.
Okay.
We've turned reason on its head in this country.
Okay.
If someone is paying you, they have every right. It's a bit like you dictating to your organization, to your radio organization, how the system they should use to pay you, and telling them, oh no, I don't like the payroll system you use in WeFM. I'm going to develop my own payroll system, and you can pay me with that. Where does that happen in this world, other than in Nigeria? Where does that happen? We've turned reason on its head. The testing that Dr. Ashiru was talking about was in 2013 as part of the consultation process of the universities. Many Nigerians are not aware that these discussions with ASUU and IPPIS has been going on for at least 6 years. At least 6 years this has been going on. So the consultation happened the test happened in 2013. A number of issues were raised about, okay, the system needs to be more flexible in this area and needs to be more flexible in that area. In 2013, a number of developments have happened since then. There were applications on IPPIS that were not energized by then, had not been configured by then. This was 6 years ago. And so, like I said, the problem is not the system. The system can be configured to do anything. It's an IT system. It can be made to do anything. So that's not the issue at all. The same thing with the issue of adjunct lecturers. That's very easy to do. I work in an organization where I can go work in my UK office. I can go work in my US office. A code is given to say, okay, for the period that Dr. Abba is working in this place, this is what is earning. And that code goes to the payroll department and is computed as part of my salary. But my salary is domiciled in one place. That's the whole thing. The issue with this is that the IPPIS contains an element of biometrics, which means that everything is linked to your fingerprint. And by linking that to the bank verification number, you know exactly who is collecting what. That is the crux of the matter. Everything else everything else are smoke screens.
Dr. Abba,
everything else are smoke screens.
Dr. Abba, are you saying that it's only one way that what government wants to achieve can be achieved, and it must be by IPPIS? Is that the argument? That's one. Number two is that I'm surprised that in a democratic system of government, the narrative is that an employer cannot engage, an employee cannot engage his employer on how a salary is to be paid. For goodness sake, I am surprised about the kind of argument that I'm hearing here. The International Labour Organization Convention guarantees what is called the principle of collective bargaining. Not only can I negotiate how much I should receive as a worker once I am working, I can negotiate in what form I should be paid. In some societies all over the world, they don't pay them in 30 days. They pay some in 2 weeks. They pay some weekly, depending on what negotiation you have with your employer. Just now we are in a democratic system of government. Not only that, please let me just make this point. And we're also complaining about the over-centralization in Nigeria, and yet you are putting the pay of more than 300,000 people on only one system you call IPPIS. And today, only recently, members of the police force in Uyo, we read in the newspapers, had to take a protest to Abuja to call on President Muhammadu Buhari to assist them from the pains they are beginning to suffer on account of their migration to IPPIS. We are saying that we can achieve the same goal using different methods.
All right.
And I think what we require here is constructive engagement and not this unnecessary face-off, which will not serve the interest of education nor that of our country.
Gentlemen, hold on. Dr. Joaba, you were making a point while Dr. Ashiru was talking about employers choosing how to pay salaries. But I have to ask, does the Accountant General have the legal right to choose any platform for paying salaries?
You see, you're focusing on the Accountant General. The Accountant General is a post holder. This is the federal government. The Accountant General is the representative of the federal government and a representative of the executive arm of government.
Okay.
So it's not about the Accountant General as a person.
Okay.
The federal government, led by the president himself, has decided that every public servant should be paid through IPPIS. The president of the country himself is paid through IPPIS. So IPPIS hasn't set a retirement age of 60 years for the president. It's been configured to suit the president. IPPIS hasn't stopped the president from claiming his allowances when he travels. So all of these things are red herring, and Dr. Ashiru knows the truth. The computerization of the payroll of the police has exposed 80,000 ghost policemen. And so at the time that we are saying we have 400,000 policemen, we actually don't. And it's not a surprise that about a quarter of that number are ghosts. Now, apart from the ones that are not ghosts, you also have those that are collecting multiple salaries. And when even the IPPIS, when it was linked to the bank verification number, exposed one public servant that was collecting salaries in 20 organizations. 20. Now the issue of they are coming to Abuja to protest because of pains that it's causing them. Look, a number of organizations, a number of public servants underpay tax. They fiddle tax. The IPPIS will not allow you to underpay tax. And so people who have traditionally underpaid income tax, when put on the system starts to deduct the right amount of tax. They start to complain that the system is short paying them. That is what is going on. In some other cases, you have people who are supposed to be paid on level 10. They do a deal with someone and they are getting paid on level 14. It is only the system that can find that out, because the system tracks you from when you come into the service through the Federal Civil Service Commission to when you were posted by the office of the head of service in the case of civil servants, to when your salary goes to the office of the Accountant General for you to start getting paid. And so if you have that kind of system where there's a clear audit trail from when you were employed in the university, when you were promoted, when your salary goes for payment, then it's impossible to have someone who is an assistant lecturer getting paid as a professor. And you may think that this does not happen. It does. I can tell you that for a fact. And
Gentlemen,
so Dr. Ashiru saying, oh, it is a criminal offense to hold two full-time positions. Of course it is. But I'm telling you of somebody who was collecting 20 salaries, one public servant, 20 salaries.
okay, gentlemen,
Of course it's criminal. We
let's
know
put
it
it
is.
let's put a pause here. We need to take a commercial break. I'll beg that you both stay on the line. The break is going to be 3 minutes long. We'll come back and continue this conversation. You're listening to 99.3 Nigeria Info. I have on the phone with me ASUU Unilag Chairman Dr. Dele Ashiru and a lawyer and governance expert Dr. Joe Abba, who was also Director General of the Procurement Bureau. Don't go away.
This is Hard Facts.
is a paid announcement.
Do you crave success and career growth in a multinational company? A multinational firm in Nigeria is recruiting young and enthusiastic individuals for different positions in the company. If you have a car and you're ready to start work immediately, then KY Avalier is the company for you. So to schedule an interview, call right now. Call these numbers: 0905 637 4258. That's 0905 637 4258, or you can still call 0815 705 0505. That number again is 0815 705 0505 to schedule an interview.
That has been a paid announcement. Welcome back to Hard Facts.
You're listening to 99.3 Nigeria Info. I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and we're having a conversation about the dispute between the federal government and ASUU over the instruction to register all university staff onto the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, IPPIS. I have on the show with me ASUU Unilag Chairman Dr. Dele Ashiru and a lawyer and governance expert who is also former Director General Bureau of Public Service Reform, Dr. Joe Abba. Gentlemen, thank you so much for holding on.
Thank you. Good evening once again.
Yes. And now, before we get right into it, I have a question, Dr. Ashiru. Let's say for a moment that the Nigerian people came to ASUU and said, we agree with you. You shouldn't have to put your lecturers on the IPPIS platform. But as a show of goodwill, we want every lecturer employed in every federal university to come and get their fingerprints scanned so that we can check the record for ghost workers. Will ASUU be prepared to conduct that test?
Why not? Sure.
Okay.
I have made this point earlier that our union is not averse to any, and I repeat, any policy of government that will rid the country of ghost workers and save taxpayers money, because lecturers also pay taxes, and check where monies are going as salaries and wages and emoluments of those who work in Nigeria. What we are saying is that the directive as given by the president contravenes some laws, some established laws, and that the universities cannot be treated like a department of government. I mean, these arguments are clear and straightforward. If it is about biometrics, about ensuring that monies are traced to individual accounts and all of this, yeah, well, why not?
Okay, why not?
But the accountant general cannot be the vice chancellor general of every university in Nigeria.
Okay.
No way.
Dr. Abba, you had experience with IPPIS in your work in the private sector, and you have explained to my listener what it is and what it does. But could you do it again for the person who just tuned in? Could you break it down?
Okay, so let us start with the meaning of the name. Remember, it's the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System. And that word integrated is very, very important.
Okay.
Because if it is not integrated, you can actually have a civil servant earning a salary in a ministry and also earning a salary in a university, assuming you were to allow the university to develop their own system, because there's no integration. Do you understand? That's why the integration is so important, because the system enables it to match all the records. So if Dr. Ashiru is saying ASUU has no problem with biometric capture, has no problem, what is the problem with IPPIS? It means there's no problem. But as you can see, the argument often shifts from criticizing the system, the IP system, and then when it is shown that that criticism holds no water, it moves on to an issue of autonomy, which I'll come to in a bit. But let's talk about what the system does. You see, when you are employed as a public servant, there is a process to do that. And that process is that whoever wants to employ you does what is called, does a proposal that they want to employ, and then does what is called a manpower defense. That manpower defense means there is actually money to pay this person's salary. Now, what has happened, and this is not just in universities, what has happened in the public service over the last 10, 15 years is that this process of manpower defense has been abandoned. And people simply recruit and place the burden on the federal government. Indeed, there have been some universities that have decided to set up staff schools for themselves. I mean, this is like the staff of Nigeria Info deciding to set up a staff school for Nigeria Info, employing teachers and placing the burden of paying those teachers on the company without consultation. And then after placing that burden on the company, opening up the admission to outsiders, charging fees for people to attend that staff school and not remitting those fees to the federal government. This is one of the reasons why ASUU also kicked against the Treasury single account, which brings all the money into one place. So what the IP system does is there's a manpower defense. Once there is assurance that you are able to pay the salary, you are allowed to go and recruit. Now, when you recruit, when you go through the recruitment system, you go and have your fingerprints and biometrics captured, and all of your biodata put in. And I can talk to you about deficiencies within the system because I was on the IP steering committee for the 4 years that I was DG.
Okay, so one of the things, because
it is foolproof.
I'm glad you want to talk about the deficiencies because one of ASUU's objections to IPPIS is that it is a cybersecurity risk. And
I can talk about that.
Yeah, so I have to ask if any recorded cybersecurity problems has happened with IPPIS.
Okay, let me say this. Every single computer system is vulnerable to attack.
Okay.
There's none that is foolproof. I think maybe the only one that I've seen has been Apple offering $1 million to anyone who can hack the iPhone without touching it. And I'm sure there are people who are trying, but virtually every other IT system there is vulnerable to attack. Now, the issue is it's a constant race between between good and evil. There are those who want to attack, and then there are those who design systems to prevent that attack. So it's an ongoing thing. And you can't on the basis of that, you can't on the basis that, sometimes you transfer funds and it doesn't arrive in your account, or it arrives and it's reversed. You can't on that basis say you're dismissing internet banking or mobile banking. That makes no sense. So yes, of course there are vulnerabilities, but there are vulnerabilities that you make efforts to fix. There are issues to do with the backing up of the system.
But must it be IPPIS? Is there no way for the universities to prove to the federal government that they've sanitized their payroll of ghost workers without the external platform?
Like I said, Sandra, the issue is not just one of ghost workers. Like I said, I was on the IPPIS steering committee for 4 years. There are a multiplicity of issues. There are ghost workers. There are those who are not ghosts, who are collecting multiple salaries.
Okay.
There are those who have taken loans and walked away with the loans and never paid back. There are those who are supposed to be on level 10 and are being paid on level 16.
How will IPPIS fix that?
If I tell you the range of issues, you'll be shocked.
How will IPPIS fix it? Because the ASUU also raised a big issue. They're saying that university lecturers have very different payment schedules than other public servants. They go on sabbaticals, for example, which generates multiple revenue streams. And there's concern in academia that IPPIS will be unable to handle this. What do you say to that?
It's a secular argument, Sandra. The system can handle anything you want it to handle. Anything at all you want it to handle, it can handle. It's an Oracle database system. You configure it to do whatever you want it to do. The issue though is if you work in Nigeria Info and you are going to go to Cool FM on sabbatical, do you earn two salaries?
No.
So that's the issue. So if we're agreed that the proper thing is for you to get the one salary and get any other allowances or incentives on top of that, then what is the argument? The system will simply be configured to say that. It's the same thing that has been done with teaching hospitals.
Dr. Abba.
It's what has been done with teaching hospitals. Consultants are in exactly the same situation. It's been configured, it's working. Perfectly.
Dr. Abba.
Go ahead, Dr. Shiru.
Yeah. You see, I am surprised. First, let me say that my argument has been consistent. I started by saying that we are not opposed to any processes to make the system work effectively for all. But there are some misconceptions here. The processes of IPPIS will not rewrite university processes and tradition. Like the argument Dr. Abba is throwing up now. If you're on sabbatical, you get one salary, you get allowance there. That is not what the university system operates. And the IPPIS cannot unilaterally change that. That's part of the argument. You raise the question of recruitment. The recruitment processes, which is also one of the arguments of ASUU, is that the recruitment processes in the university cannot be subjected to the bureaucracy of IPPIS and that of the Accountant General of the Federation.
Now, I have, Dr. Shiru, hold on. I have a listener who sent us a WhatsApp message. By the way, you can send a WhatsApp message to 080 959 75805. Be a part of this conversation. 080 959 75805. Dr. Shiru, a listener said to us, what does ASUU lose with IPPIS?
Oh, great. That's what I have been explaining. One, we lose our capacity to function effectively as a university where knowledge is to be produced, disseminated and utilized for the good of the society.
How?
You don't. Tell us how.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was explaining that. Now, in the University of Lagos, for example, you want to set up a program. You want to mount a program, let's say for taxation. Now, the laws of the university empower the university senate to determine what manner of program you choose to run, in the university. Now, when you want to set up that program, you must also look for those who will teach and research in that area. So when you want to recruit, what IPPIS is saying, and which Dr. Abba has corroborated, is that you first must take permission from whoever is in charge of IPPIS to enable you to do this recruitment.
No, sir.
But that's what you have just told us.
No, sir. There's a difference.
That's what you have just explained to us, sir.
Hold on, let's hear Dr. Abba. Hold on.
I don't think you heard me well.
I don't think I have problems hearing people.
Okay, there's a difference between employment. Which carries corollaries like pensions and leave and all of that, and consultancy, where you engage someone to do a specific task to a specific terms of reference, and you pay them, and they deliver the job and go. There's a difference between the two.
I am aware of that, Dr. Abba. What I am saying is that in the IPPIS platform that was presented at the stakeholders meeting, I mean, these issues were raised, and the consultants have no answer to it.
Okay.
And this happened some 3 weeks back.
Gentlemen, hold that thought. Let's take 2 calls. People are itching to talk to you both. 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. These are the studio numbers: 01277 0993, 1993, 2993, and 3993. Let's talk to Okikiade. Okikiade is in Prayer City.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
My sister Sandra.
I have 1 minute to give you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think all I want to say is that I have been the chairman of Looking for Ghost Workers in 1995-96 at Federal Ministry of Works. It's a very, very hard task. Okay. A woman, they call them Anson writers. So those people who are in the accounting department, they call them Anson, ANSON, Anson writers, they call them. Level 04, in a Mercedes-Benz, for which me, on level 14, did not have money to buy Mercedes-Benz. Because she put in a lot of ghost workers. She forgot her diary in the bank. That was the time before they started using all this computerized something. They were writing by hand. And then later on, they would go and collect. Put 20 names in her diary. Unfortunately, she forgot it in one of the banks where she went to collect money. Fake names. This ghost workers must end.
So you agree with the federal government and not with ASUU?
Federal government, Federal Minister of Work, to be precise, and only soldiers can do it. That was when we had General Adisa.
No, I'm saying that in this particular matter between ASUU and the federal government, you agree with the federal government.
I agree with the federal government for them to put them on IP.
Okay, Kede, thank you for calling us. Joshua is in Ikorodu. Hello, Joshua. Welcome. Sorry about that. Call back if you can. We're streaming this conversation on Facebook as well, so leave us comments. We're streaming on YouTube as well. I'm going to take your comments right now. Austin, hello.
Hello, Sandra.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, what I just simply want to say is the fact that an instruction may be coming from the federal government or for instance the president does not mean that we cannot sit on a round table. This idea of grandstanding that okay, it is like this, I pay you, I must dictate, will not do anyone good.
Okay.
Why don't you look at the president? I wouldn't want to see, ASUU as a body that want to, encourage corruption. So it's a matter of, look, we are talking of, this is matter of learning here for crying out loud. Why don't you sit down with them, look at what their issues are? I just see from the angle that Dr. Joe is coming from, Dr. Joe Abba is coming from, it's as if we pay you, we must dictate, you must listen to us. Whatever you want to do, we don't want to hear. It is not going to help us. Look, it is not only one sector we are beginning to face this. We are facing this in very many sectors. Look at what happened between the military and, the House of Rep.
All right,
such instances are coming all over.
Thank you for calling us. We've got Orolu on Facebook who says, I think Dr. Ashiru is mixing the issue up. He said they are ready for biometrics check, and then why are they fighting this system? It was wrong for him to say that the Accountant General cannot be the Accountant General, of all university. Was that the issue? Has he forgotten that the Accountant General pays the university? The truth is that they cannot compel the government to use what suits them. Employer has the right to choose what they want to use their employee to make use of. I'm not sure I understood the last part of that sentence, but Orolu, thank you so much for getting in touch. I'm going to take last words from Dr. Ashiru and last words from Dr. Abba. Dr. Ashiru, you go ahead.
Well, you see, the point that I'd like to make is that we have told the relevant agencies of government our willingness to help them achieve whatever objective of sanitizing the system better.
Okay.
As I speak with you, our union has an integrated alternative to IPPIS. And I think what government should do is give us the challenge to say, okay, bring what you say you have and let's look at it. And it can even help revolutionize, the IPPIS as it is currently configured.
Okay.
The way Dr. Abba is presenting it is as if that IPPIS system cannot be improved. And I don't agree.
Okay,
I am
Dr.
saying
Abba.
that with the level of sophistication in the university system, we can beat the current IPPIS platform as it is currently configured.
All right, Dr. Abba, your last words.
My last words are that if they can beat the current IPPIS system, which is an Oracle database, they would have made enough money to be completely autonomous financially, because they will be selling it across the world. It will be better than Oracle. But we know that is not the case. The issue really is, how serious are we in this country? How much do we want to protect our own individual benefits as against the benefits of the majority of Nigerians? If we put our patriotism first, then we will know that whatever system we run, whatever improvements we want to make, the benefits of the majority will come first. Actually, getting better payroll management systems in the universities will actually benefit ASUU. IPPIS would actually benefit ASUU.
Okay, gentlemen.
And so if they're happy with biometrics, they're happy with everything, and they are in support of a system that can help government achieve its objectives, then IPPIS is that system.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joaba and Dr. Dele Ashiru. Dr. Joaba is former Director General, Bureau of Public Service Reform. He's also a lawyer and governance expert. Dr. Dele Ashiru is the chairman, ASUU Unilag. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for this invitation. Thank you.
All right. We have the news coming up right now. And afterwards, let's talk with Rufai on Conversations with Rufai. I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and I'm happy to continue this conversation with you on my Twitter, Nigeria Info FM. That's the official Twitter handle for the station. My Twitter is S Ezekwesili. Those are your hard facts, Lagos. Good night.
99.3 Nigeria Info.